Hi, and welcome to our series of short talks covering the topic of dealing with the mental aspect of being injured. For those of you that have followed us so far, you will know that we've covered the denial and the anger phases, and this talk today we're going to talk about the bargaining phase. For those of you that are joining us for the first time, welcome along. My name's Chaz. I'm the principal therapist at Corrective Kinesiology, where you can get in-clinic and online exercise rehabilitation and corrective exercise therapy. You can find us on the web, www.corrective-kinesiology.co.uk, and contact details are on there if you want to get in touch with us. As I said, we're going to talk today about the third phase of the dealing with mental health, which is the bargaining phase. Now, I love and I loathe this phase as the therapist treating the injured athlete. I get some wild and crazy questions. The first one is always, how quickly can I get back to cycling? How quickly can I get back in the gym? Which is that cliched how long is a piece of string question sometimes when we're in the very, very acute stage of injury. Or I get the super keen athlete, super keen runner who can barely walk into my clinic asking me if he thinks there's any chance that he can compete in the half marathon in 2 days' time. Very ambitious. I'm very flattered that they feel that I'm that good a therapist that I can turn that around, but the reality is that is not realistic. I work with them. I'm a huge fan of the active rest and relative rest, and I use those kind of interchangeably depending on who I'm talking to. So with my bargaining head on, and it is a bargaining discussion, so it's between me and my injured patient, we look at only resting against activities that either we don't have to do or that offer no irritation to the injury. So the first thing, the things that we don't have to do. So if in your job in the day, because we take in a holistic view of this when we're managing injury, so it's everything. It's the load management is from the moment we get up until we go to bed. So if in your job you're required to spend all day standing and you have got a Achilles tendon trauma, then we could, in our bargaining phase, we could try not to spend as much time, standing, and maybe get some time off of our feet during the day, and therefore the injury, the trauma is a little less fatigued, and we may still be able to carry on with our activity, our sport, our training. If we look at that slightly more specifically, for example, whether it be a runner or someone in the gym, the two things that we can look to dial back down to a point where it doesn't irritate the injury is duration and intensity, or load and intensity. So if it's a runner, maybe we bring them back down to a run-walk program and see how that goes. If you're in the gym and you have been doing some lifting, and maybe you're on these CrossFit guys and girls that do this amazing sort of whole body weight training, that we take them back down to resistance bands and things like that. So we can bargain with each other to find a load management that takes away any challenge to the injury, keeps us active, and by default helps actually to recover the injury. Now, if you just decide, I'm fed up with this, I can't run like I was, I'm going to sit around and do nothing until my injury is repaired, well, actually, you're not doing yourself any favours at all. In order to optimise our recovery time, we do need to put a little bit of challenge, a little bit of load into that injury site. And there'll be another blog later on describing how we recover from injury, what happens physiologically. But suffice to say, you do need to make that injury site work to build itself up, to get stronger, to allow you to move back on. So let's assume that you are, for example, a runner and you can't run. Now, we all know that is really challenging. The sport we want to do, the exercise we want to do, we can't do it. And we need to bargain with ourselves. We need to find something that we can do. Now, one of the very useful tools I've found is to ask the patient, aside from the the pride of performing fantastically well on a 10k road race or doing superbly well in a weightlifting competition, what else does the training give them? And I try and get them to list 2 or 3 aspects that they get out of the sport and activity that they do. So if we, for example, take running or cycling, but for example, running. Now, what do I like about running when I go out for a run? Well, firstly, I actually love just getting out in the fresh air, enjoying the views that you see on your different runs, whether it's just around your local street and you see neighbours you haven't seen for a while, or you get out along a seafront or through a forest. That's stimulating mentally. And the other thing I love is that adrenaline rush of really pushing myself, pushing the heart rate and getting out there. So, for example, for a runner, if you can't run because of the nature of the injury, think about things that you could do, but you have to, I'm not saying it's your favourite thing, but you have to not loathe it. So, for example, you could go cycling. So you are still out in that air, you are still pushing your heart and lungs, you can still take up that challenge. But at the same time, if we've got the example we used earlier, we've got an Achilles challenge when it's not yet ready to take the impact load of a running stride, then the cycling is a fantastic augmentation to the recovery. So you get that mental stimulation that you get from your sports, your exercise, just in a different way. Now, spinning that on its head for the gym guy, he or she may love being in that gym, surrounded by other people. You might be a CrossFit athlete. You love being in that class, that buzz, everybody around you, you know, the super body weight exercises that you all thrash out there. That might be your thing. And at this stage, you may have a torn rotator cuff, something like that, real challenge to the shoulder. You can't do that. But you can still get that heart rate buzz, and you can still be in that group exercise atmosphere if perhaps you switched across and you joined a spin class. So we're bargaining with ourselves that we can't do that, but we can do that. And of course, the other thing that jumping onto an alternative activity does is it's giving us the stimulation we need into the injury site to help with the recovery, but it's also giving us some fitness. It's keeping some fitness in there, not specific to your sport necessarily, but that will come through the exercise rehabilitation, corrective exercise into your principal training program. But we'll keep the heart and lungs going. We'll keep that cardiovascular fitness in there. So it's a good bargaining tool for us to keep that going. And that's where we need to get ourselves, because that gives us that much stronger mental position when we prepare ourselves to go back into our training program. Now, remember that we are bargaining to keep ourselves going, and we will cover this a bit more later on, but just remember when we go into our training program through the rehabilitation continuum, we're not going to be where we were, but we will be able to do what we love doing. So that's it, gang. That's all I've got for you on the bargaining phase. If you haven't seen the other short videos, then please look them up. They should be found on our Facebook page. And if you want any more information on this or any other aspect of recovering from injury management, or your training loads, then get in touch with us. We'd love to hear from you. Until then, guys, take care, stay fit, and see you for the next one. Bye bye.